So we have an update on Omicron, and there's some really bad news and some, I think, good news, but maybe I'm looking at it incorrectly. It looks like it is much more virulent, which means it spreads. No. Sorry.
Much more
transmissible.
Transmissible, yeah.
Much less virulent. So
maybe.
We don't know that for sure, but there's signs. There are signs of it. We don't know, but it's signs.
A lot of times, look, we've seen this pattern enough to know. People who are skeptical of COVID generally gravitate to the best news information on this, and the people in the news media generally go to the worst, right? We know that pattern goes on. So you take time to sift through it and try to figure out, okay, which part of this is true, which isn't. Even the mainstream media has started bringing up reports about it being less virulent. So that's good. It does seem like that there's something to that.
Well, it couldn't reproduce this fast without leaving a wake. We know it's not more virulent.
Yeah, I think I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to wind up being less. There's a lot of people. They've done a bunch of studies. They're just all really early. A lot of them are in the lab, but this is the stuff they figure out to indicate what is going to go on. And they miss sometimes, but usually they get the direction, generally speaking, right.
So it's now in 70 countries, rapid growth in the UK. It now shows it can outcompete with the Delta variant, which if it is less virulent, that's good because it will become the dominant strain.
Already the dominant strain in London, already in South Africa as well.
It says currently dominant in the US and much of Europe.
Delta is the one that's...
Delta is, yeah. Also evidence that it is better than its predecessors at evading immunity from vaccines or previous infection.
That seems to be another thing that is real. Where Delta, everyone was talking about the waning vaccine efficiency. With Delta, it was a little bit... I don't think it was all that much to be worried about. This one in particular, though, seems like not only vaccine immunity, but also natural immunity. It seems to be good at getting around, which is suboptimal.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah. But this is, to me, this goes back to what I said in January before anybody was really talking about, what it might mean. Mm-hmm. And I said, if this is an outbreak, I fear the economic ramifications more than the virus. I just don't think this is going to be the plague, or Ebola. It's going to really attack us economically. That's what I was worried about. And then I said, it is eventually going to burn itself out as they do, and it will probably just become another flu.
Yeah.
Now that's bad because, we lose...
Flu sucks.
Yeah, the flu sucks, and we lose, 40 to 80,000 people every year in America from the flu. You add another 40 to 80,000, and that's a lot of people.
Yeah, you don't want to double up on the flu if you can help it. But long term, I think we will. That's how this probably ends.
That's how it ends. That's how it ends. And this might be a step in that direction. We don't know yet, but we do know that it is. The numbers are a little staggering. It is much more transmissible. On Wednesday, the UK reported 4,671 new Omicron cases, an increase of 87% on all those previously identified, bringing the total to more than 10,000 people. Infections from the variant are much higher than reported cases, given the asymptomatic infection and the lag time in testing to identify it. They estimate now Omicron infections could reach 1 million a day by Christmas Day.
In the UK?
That is the way this is written. It doesn't. It's because the entire story is about the UK.
Yeah, 75.
But that's crazy.
Yeah, there are 75,000. I think you said per day. Now that was one. It's a spike day. Sometimes the data comes in strangely, so that's a little bit higher than they've been. But that's the record for the entire pandemic. If it continues,
they say they have previously identified bringing the total of cases more than 10,000. So you're a long way away from 1 million. It's got to be for all of Europe.
It does seem, though, pretty clear that it is a lot more transmissible, which, as you point out, might not be bad. It depends on how much more transmissible it is, right? Because there are some indications in early lab studies and such that Omicron may be, the virulence of it may be reduced 25, maybe even 50%. Now, that's not locked in. You can't take that to the bank. But if that were to hold up, that's obviously really good in that less people will die. The problem, though, is if you increase cases by 5 or 10x, that virulence is still going to wind up with a really bad bottom line number. I mean, I do think that, look, if you're living in a red state, if you're living in, I don't think much is going to change about your life going through this, though I do think, travel may be very annoying. If you're in a blue state, I think a lot of these, I don't think shutdowns are coming, but I do think you're going to get restrictions. Some of that stuff's going to come back on. You're seeing it in some places already. This may be kind of annoying. I will say it doesn't seem like it's
going
nothing.
to be. I think it is going to be annoying because I think the federal government will make it annoying.
I think state governments will be also
in blue states.
In blue states will be on
blue
that.
States.
And
they already are.
But like when these things come up, like we also had epsilon variant, right? And that was in the news for a while too, and it turned into nothing, right? So sometimes these things happen, and the majority of them, I would say, a lot of these scares, we've seen it over and over again with the media. They turn into nothing. Mm-hmm. This one, though, like Delta, seems like it could get to the point where it's going to be pretty annoying. I mean, like it does seem to evade natural immunity and vaccine immunity,
right?
Which
is weird because everybody's saying we've got to get on these vaccine boosters. Well, why?
Well,
I mean, it appears to evade those things.
Yeah. Now the initial studies, and again, it's important to note this comes from Pfizer. So and like I don't know. I understand it. You should definitely be skeptical of McDonald's telling you how healthy their fries are, right? Like, okay, yes, I got it.
Yes.
On the other hand, too, we're going to have real results from outside scientists within weeks. Mm-hmm. So, like, for them to just say, "Oh, go get boosted" and have nothing behind it wouldn't help them in the long term. Remember, this is a company that buys all the pills that makes the villages so exciting to live in.
Right.
Pfizer has a lot of money, right? Like, so for them to completely screw this up would be there's not a lot of incentive for them for a 3-week period of them selling extra booster shots. Their studies are showing that the 2 shots are something like 33% effective against Omicron, where with the booster it goes up to about 80 is what they're saying. Now, we don't know. They are saying, however, and this is important, and I think this will hold up for natural immunity as well, though I have not seen a study on it yet, but both the vaccine and I think natural immunity are holding up quite well against hospitalization and death still.
Yes.
So it's not and that's one of the arguments about the difference in virulence. The aggressiveness of COVID back in the day was against a population that no one had it and no one was vaccinated, and we didn't have treatments, right? Now we're at a point where a lot of people are vaccinated, a lot of people have had it, and we have a lot of treatments and more coming. So it may just be that it's this similar virulence, but we just have a population much better prepared to handle it. And that is important. It's why you don't put all these restrictions on again. We are able to make our own choices and judge our own risk.
So they're looking at the University of Ohio State University. They're looking at the Omicron variant, and they have found now that it looks like this variant doesn't breed well in the lungs. It does much better in the throat.
Which is huge, if true.
Huge. If you get that out of your lungs, that's where pneumonia and you just can't breathe and all of that stuff. Ventilators, if this thing keeps out of lungs, it's going to be a lot better. Now, we don't know that's an initial report, but this is the way these things work. Generally speaking, this is the way viruses work. They don't want to kill the host. Life is trying to find a way to live and survive. So this virus is life. And if it goes into a body and the body dies because it kills it, it dies. And so it needs to get smarter and less virulent and kill less people. And that's what happens. That's why these things usually get more and more mild as they go on. But you're not going to see an end to the madness. However, let me say this: have you seen the CEOs? Two of the largest airlines say that they are no longer. This is American and Southwest. Say they are not going to. They're not going to do the mask mandates. They say that
I thought it was an FAA rule.
Two CEOs, America's largest airline, said this week they don't believe the Biden administration's continued mask mandates requiring travelers to wear masks while flying serves much benefit, considering the fact that airplanes have advanced filtration systems that remove nearly all airborne contamination from the cabin. The comments came from American Airlines CEO Doug Parker. Southwest Airlines CEO Gary Kelly came during a Senate committee hearing on the financial support of the industry during the pandemic. So they're pushing back on it.
They're opposing it. They can't lift it themselves. But but that is a huge deal. And honestly, you're talking about one of probably the safest environments you could be for COVID because of
you would think it would be one of the worst, but it's not.
Yeah.
Because it would be one of the worst if it was a sealed tube.
Right.
But they filter that air, I don't know how many times before it comes blowing back into your face. So it is a very safe environment.
And I know of really none that I can think of outbreaks that have happened on planes. That's not to say that no cases have ever been transmitted on a plane, but like there haven't been super spreader events on planes because of that filtration.
Right. You would think that closed in environment would be a super spreader event every time it takes off.
So where are you on? Like, if you had to say, let me give you two options. This is going to get pretty bad, or it's going to fade away and be nothing. Are you a 50-50 person? Are you above 50-50 that's going to get bad? And when I mean bad, I mean, I don't think it's going to be January or April 2020 bad, but it's going to be, worse than, let's say, the Delta wave of the fall and winter last year, where we had, up 3,500, 4,000 people a day dying.
So I think, this is a sheer guess on my. I don't have any feeling on it.
I'm with you on this. It's just a vibe. I don't know.
Yeah, my gut says that it's going to be much more prevalent, but much less scary. Yeah. People are not going to be afraid of this. It's going to start just becoming part of life.
Right. You're going to start people like
the government's not going to reflect that, but that's where the American people and I think the people of the world are going to be.
And we always lead. I think we will start doing the things. I mean, you see this in red states all the time. There were mask mandates here much longer than people were paying attention to them. You know what I mean? Like people were living their lives and doing what they wanted to do, even though some of these rules remained on the books. And some of these places will implement these rules again. Yeah. And I think at this point, most people are just like, look, I got to live my life. Mm-hmm. If I'm
not going to live my life. This is what I got in trouble for when I said when we were at the height. People like me, my age, I've lived a good life. I've had a good life. And if it meant keeping America's doors open on critical infrastructure, then I'd be willing to go in and, I get the coronavirus and I die. Okay. I volunteer to do that. Keep America going. Don't keep shutting it down. And I think more and more people are like that. Look, I'm not going to live my life in fear of this stupid virus.
Right.
We can't. It'll be like this. We are going to live with the coronavirus for the rest of our lives. It's just going to be part of life now. So now's the time to make the choice. How much are you willing not to see your children and your grandchildren on Christmas because you're afraid of the coronavirus? Maybe you are this year. Are you still going to be there next year and the year after? What is it we are sacrificing because of fear?